Hi everybody, it's Julie, and today I thought it would be really fun to do a tutorial on these gorgeous paper gems I've been seeing all over Pinterest. Geometric shapes are so hot, and I just love how colorful and fun these are. And I'm going to be using a tool for making these paper gemstones from We Are Memory Keepers. This is the Triangle Score Guide, and I love the fact that you can use it. It was built for their scoreboard, but I don't own it. They made sure that it is compatible with other brands of scoreboards, and I'm going to be using it with the Martha Stewart scoreboard. So you get the tool, and then you get this booklet that shows you different project ideas, and I love the fact that they had some inspiration in there on how to use different things that you can do with these gemstones made of paper. And the other thing I really liked was they have different geometric shapes, and they have the patterns and templates, and they tell you what size you need to cut your paper and what your score lines should measure out at. And so we're going to get started. The one thing I noted, it was important to use solid papers instead of pattern because it was easier to see the score lines. And then it was also a good idea to buff the surface of the paper with wax paper so that my scoring tool would glide really nice and smoothly along the paper surface. So I'm using 6 by 6 inch square, and then I'm scoring at 1.5 inches across, and then I folded the left corner, the lower left corner. This is going to be very important because you'll notice where that corner is rotated as far as how the paper is going to get angled into that triangle score guide. So it's flush up there in the top corner portion of the tool, but you'll notice the position of that little folded corner is going to be very important. So I'm going to go ahead and now score my diagonal lines at 1.5 inches apart and go along on the other side. I've got to get the other side of the paper there. And that was a little bit tricky, but for the most part, it really helps if you've waxed your paper first so that your score tool doesn't get caught on the paper and shift the paper out of place. Now it's really important to pay attention to this next step. You want to take the tool and flip it over to side B. So we're done with side A now. We're going to move to side B, but do not flip your paper over. Instead, you're going to actually pivot or rotate your paper so that that little corner that you started with that was towards the bottom of the screen, well, now it's flush right there where you can see me pointing. That's where that little folded corner is going to be really helpful. So we started with it down at the bottom. Now we've rotated it up to the left there. And then we're going to go ahead and start scoring on side B. And again, these are 1.5 inches apart, and those are marked there on the tool. So now I've got all my diagonal lines measured, and I've got all these triangle shapes are perfectly triangular. And then I'm going to pick out that pattern again with the same measurements that I need. And you'll notice that the right hand, the little corner that I had there, now I flipped it over because that's the direction I want to be tracing my pattern. This is going to be the inside of my gemstone. So it's really important that you pay attention to where you folded that corner and where you're rotating it and placing it as you're going through making your project here. In the end, if you pay attention to that, it will make everything turn out the right way. Ask me how I know. Now you can't see the booklet because it's off screen, but I'm just following the guide on the booklet that shows me where to draw my pencil lines. And I'm not even being really careful because I know they're not even going to be seen. I just needed a rough guide to know where I needed to cut to create the little flaps and tabs. So I'm just going to go ahead and cut out my shape. And I'm just using the score lines as a guide and the pencil lines there. And then I'm just going to reinforce all those score lines by just creasing all along them and have that already done and ready to go. And then I'm going to start putting some adhesive. Now, depending on the size of the paper, there are different adhesives that you can use. I found that a mono multi-glue worked really well, and also for things that maybe had more tension, the Be Creative tape was also a really nice tape to use. So I'm actually going to create this first one. This is a smaller one. I'm just going to pinch it together, but I'm using the mono multi because it sets up pretty fast, and it was just really a great glue for this. And I tried a glue stick, but I didn't really like how that held. This one held up. It set up much quicker and allowed me to keep going, and I only had to hold the flap in, for just a couple seconds before I moved on to the next flap. And I noticed on the last two flaps, it helped to put adhesive on both of them and then kind of insert them and press them together at the same time. So usually on the last two flaps, that's what I would do, is apply my adhesive and then go ahead and mount both of those last two flaps, or connect both of those two flaps. And you could use these as actual gift containers and put trinkets and treasures or goodies inside. The variety of sizes can be as small as 1 inch and as large as like 6 inches. Some of them are pretty big. So stay tuned for part 2 where I have a couple more ideas to share with you.